Thank you very much. Director of Proceeding. Dear graduates, we have graduates and graduates. I believe you fall under the category of graduates since you are yet to graduate. Before I speak now, I would like to stand before the protocols already observed by the previous speakers. I'm not really good to single out individuals, but safely I would rather say, may I stand as I acknowledge you and in your respective capacity within which you serve the Namibian child. Because as I stand, I see my lecturers, I see my parents, I see my teachers, and I see friends. So I don't want to leave anybody out. Allow me to spend these few minutes to say a few things to you who have dedicated yourself to decide and take the role of a teacher in this beautiful republic. As I'm going to do that, I'm going to center my talk on three things. The first thing, I would like to talk about your individual personality. The second one, I would like to look at the teaching as a profession. And then lastly, I'll look at your personal as well as your professional growth. To start with, your personality from today onwards, if it never changed, it should begin to change. If you were studying towards the degree of education and you never realized how much it is like to become a teacher, I believe this is the time to start thinking towards the direction of what kind of a teacher you ought to be once tomorrow you are going to be dedicated and be called a graduate teacher. Teaching is not an easy thing, and teaching does not end. What do I mean teaching does not end? We must always look at our personality. Every time you leave your house to go to school or to a center where you are going to teach and meet those innocent learners, you must ask yourself whether you are ready to go and face as well as receive that innocent child who's coming from a very troubled home. Your personality should never reflect a problem to that child who thinks, today I'm waking up, I'm going to school to go and find something positive from that teacher of mine. But I'm always going to school because my teacher is always ready and waiting for me. You know, the teaching profession is the only profession where before you go to school or to work, you must know what you are going to do. Other professions and other people just wake up and go. Their role or their work will get them in their offices. But with us, we have people that are waiting for us every day. Whether you like it or not, a learner is waiting for you. But even a medical doctor, he goes to his practice. If a patient doesn't walk in, he can go back home and without doing anything. But as for you and me, that learner is always waiting for us. So we must always prepare to go and face that child. Your personalities must reflect positivity, because that child that you are going to teach, the child you are going to be paid for, is a child who's going through so much thing, through so much pain, neglected by their own parents, not because the parents have decided to neglect, but because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in, especially economically. Some parents leave their homes 5 o'clock in the morning and they return at 6, and this child has no time to have or to spend with the parent. It is you and I that will spend more time with this child at school. And within that time, make that time to be very quality for that child. Because as you have listened to your oath of dedication, there is a point where it says, education is mainly determined by a teacher. And that statement should not go in vain. We should respect that statement. We have teachers, we have students, we have graduates that are ready to go and work. But it is a pity that nowadays education is no longer the way it used to be when we were taught by our teachers. Our teachers were so dedicated into teaching to a point that they have ignored their own personal lives. But as for us, we are going to look for teaching jobs, or we are pursuing degrees in education simply because we want to be employed. That's where the difference is. It is no longer the passion, it's no longer the calling that people have today. It is mainly because we are looking for employment. And it's a pity that when we speak to people like that, there is always that person that will be touched and say, I'm going to be a different teacher. Then that person should be you. Be a different teacher. When you walk, they should be seeing a teacher. When you speak, they should be seeing a teacher. Teaching does not end at 1 o'clock when classes are called off. Teaching is something that should be done 24/7. In other words, wherever you find yourself, you should teach. Then it can only take a teacher who will teach wherever they find themselves, because this profession, it is a respected profession. The Bible speaks about teaching. Jesus himself was a teacher. You'll believe me that if you go to any gathering where people are given opportunities to speak, everybody will be referred to by their own names or what they do. But as for you, a teacher, you will always be referred to, can we allow the teacher to speak? They will not mention your name. Can we allow the teacher to speak? Tangotu pekosi omitiri o efro value. It is because of that value that the profession holds. The teaching profession, they call it as a mother of all professions. And that in itself is something big. It's something that you and I should respect. Do not get this degree lawfully tomorrow to go and start bullying and insulting, name-calling, belittling that child that's supposed to come to you to learn one or two things. Education is sacrifice. And allow me to remind you that now I'm on my second point, where I'm saying education is a sacrifice. A teacher will teach for 25 years. Within these 25 years, you will produce a lot of other professions. If you were teaching grade 5 for these 25 years, you have remained a teacher for 25 years, but what you have produced your own medical doctors, you have produced your lawyers, you have produced everything that one requires in the community. But you have just been teaching that grade 5 grade. It is not something that you say, no, teaching profession does not give me money, therefore I should neglect a child. It is not something that we should take as a job to get paid, but it's something that we should take to serve the person in need. For us to shape the future that we want to see. The learners, the children, the people that we want to see in this country should pass through our hands. And if you look at the money that the profession will give you, I tell you that you will not do it. Every day will become a difficult day for you. Every day will be too much for you. Every child will be too much for you. But if you take it as a profession through which a child is supposed to be molded, to be prepared, as your oath of dedication said, for them to be independent and responsible citizens for this country, only then will you manage to do or to work within this profession. The education or teaching profession should never be compared to any other profession. You know the reason why it is so difficult? Others deal with patients who are not fine, maybe psychologically. With us, we deal with people who are fine. They are not sick, but they are fine. You explain this in this way, you explain it the other way, but this child does not just understand, and you will wonder. And it is where teachers or certain teachers will start calling this child stupid. This is an inheritance. Maybe your parents are also like that. Do not be that teacher. Do not be that teacher. Be a teacher who sees positivity, who sees something in that child. No matter how much this child is struggling, you as a teacher should look at that child from a different perspective and see this child is able to be transformed. Be a teacher who will say a child or every child is able to learn, and everybody learns differently. Be a teacher who will say, if this child does not understand the way I teach, I must teach this child the way this child should learn. Then you'll manage. Because you might employ so many strategies to teach this child just to try and see if this child will be understanding what you are going to say. But this child will be very difficult. Go and look at it from a different perspective and say, the way I'm teaching might not be the way this child is supposed to learn. Let me change and teach the way this child is supposed to learn. And that will make you navigate through this teaching profession with ease. Education and the teaching profession in general is what holds a nation. With a broken or diluted education, a nation does not go anywhere. It is true, we have many people who say nowadays education is nothing, but then we look at it from a perspective of having so much money. But I don't call money as wealth, but wealth is when you are able to make somebody to be more than who you are. And that is the wealth that a teacher should look at. Because if you don't look at it, you'll start comparing education to a profession which shares no characteristics with the teaching profession. And that is a distortion on its own. The third part of my talk, I would like to talk about your growth personally and professionally. The teaching profession has absorbed so many people, so many scholars who have decided to end with the degree that you are going to get on Tuesday. That should not be the point. As teachers, we have grown to this point, and we should as well grow beyond this point. Learning is an unever-ending endeavor. We must continue to learn, because every day when you raise up from your bed, it is a new day with new challenges and very brand new opportunities that we need to go and grab. Never say what I got in education is enough. If there is an opportunity, continue to develop your personal self as well as your professional growth. Let it grow. Be relevant, because the world we live in is an ever-changing world. I quote from a scholar who says the world we live in is a VUCA world. A VUCA world is an acronym which I'm going to detail out. The V stands for the world is full of volatility. Today you see this, tomorrow you don't see it anymore. With the U, it is full of uncertainty. Every day you meet things that you have never met, you have never heard of. The C stands for complexity. The world is very complex to a point that sometimes you wonder why you were born, that you should be going through the trouble that you'll be facing. While the A stands for the ambiguity in the world that we live in. We have so many things that can be interpreted in so many different ways by different people based on their experience and their background. So this world is a VUCA world which we need to see how we are going to navigate through it. And we can only do it if we continue to develop ourselves personally and professionally. Let us learn. Let us keep ourselves abreast with new information. Before I leave this stage, because I'm sure you can't wait for the day to come. And this might seem to be time wasting to some of us, because we want to start enjoying and celebrating our achievement already. Allow me to leave you with the 4 agreements that I have learned from a guy called Don Ruiz Miguel. He's a Mexican. Don Ruiz Miguel. He wrote a book which is titled the 4 agreements. These 4 agreements, I'm giving them to you to go and read them further, go and explore them on your free time, to go and understand that in life we should not make agreements based on things that you think you don't know about. The first agreement is that you should always be impeccable with your words. Be impeccable with your words. What does it mean? You must only say what you mean. You must always tell the truth. You must serve with integrity. The second agreement is that never should you make assumption. Do not make assumption. Because many of us will think when somebody says something about you or something about somebody else, and then you want to conclude already. Do not do that. As a teacher, as a scholar, you must leave room to find out whether this person is saying things based on an informed ground or is simply saying it because he or she is personally troubled. Do not take anything personally, because in this world, there is nothing that others do that is all about you. Look at things that people say, which is negative, as a thing that you know that this has to do with their own reality, a reflection of their own life. And that gives you the third agreement. The fourth agreement is that you must always do your best. You must always do your best. How do you do your best? In every opportunity that you are granted, try to do your best. When you do your best and you know that you have done your best, it is good because it will give you that sense of fulfillment. I say this with all the eagerness because I have seen teachers who go to class without having prepared. And an unprepared teacher gets very angry to learners out of nothing. When a teacher is not prepared, a learner who knows what he or she wants will know immediately that this teacher is not prepared today. And when you meet a smart learner, this learner will challenge you immediately. And that challenge to a teacher who's not prepared, you'll get angry. And you might even insult that child. You forget that you did not prepare yourself. So please, do not make assumptions. Do not take anything personally. Do your best at all times. And you must always be impeccable with your words. And the teaching profession, you will enjoy it. Don't look at the money, but look at the work that you are doing for your community. Dear graduates, thank you so much.
So you're still a president?